Hey guys, welcome to another video. So the time is now finally here. I have my top 10 favorite films of 2024. I do apologize, this video kind of took a little longer than I expected. There was just some other films that I wanted to make sure that they had their fair chance before I did a video like this. So I do have my top 10 here. I also have some honorable mentions. These are just films that I really enjoyed throughout 2024 that didn't quite make the top 10 list, but I thought they were worth bringing up because I thought there was something admirable about them enough where I would recommend them to you, even if they didn't necessarily make the top 10 by the end of the day. So let's go over some honorable mentions here first. And those films consist of, no particular order for these are just films I really admired that didn't make the top 10. They are Furiosa, a Mad Max saga, Maxine, Beverly Hills Cop Axel Foley, Saturday Night, Inside Out 2, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Gladiator 2, Sonic the Hedgehog 3, Here, which is the new Robert Zemeckis movie, and A Complete Unknown. Great films. I recommend them to you. They just weren't quite great enough to make it into the top 10 here. The 10 that I feel that I chose are, for me personally anyway, the 10 best of the year. Also going into the top 10 here, this is just obviously my personal opinion. These aren't necessarily what the Oscars are going to choose or anything like that. It's also important to note too, I didn't necessarily see every film of 2024, so if there's a film missing from here, there is a strong chance either I didn't get around to seeing it, or maybe it's that rare scenario where I saw it and just didn't think it was as great as other people were claiming it was. So just go on this list knowing that it could be a film, if you were really hoping I was going to put it on the list here, it could very well be a film that I probably just didn't get around to in 2024. So let's go over my top 10 here, going from 10 to number one being the best in the list. So we kind of work our way from the bottom, and the list gets better for me as we get to number one. So we'll start at number 10, and that is Dune Part 2. I really like this film. I think Denis Villeneuve is a great director. I would go so far as say I think it's a much better film than Dune Part 1. I think it's a better made movie. I think Denis Villeneuve throws us into the Dune universe in a more interesting way, whether it is what's going on with Paul Atreides or his family. I thought the battle sequences were more engaging this time. I thought more filmmaking happened this time around, and what I mean by that is like there's scenes that are intentionally in black and white when they're on a different planet, or the music gets different, or even like how the musical score is utilized. Like it adds to the scene in a unique way from scene to scene. I just think it's a much better film than Dune Part 1. I'll be very happy if it gets a lot of wins at the Oscars. So Dune Part 2 makes it in at number 10 on my list. At number 9 on my list, we have the new remake from Robert Eggers of Nosferatu. I loved this movie. This film is so well made. I like how it feels like an older film. Lily Rose Depp is terrific in this film. I really hope she does get some Oscar attention. She's terrific in the film. Can't wait to see what she does next as an actress. I loved what Bill Skarsgård did as Count Orlok, or Nosferatu as the title suggests. Very fun take on the character, very scary take on the character, even the way that they made him look with the practical effects and the makeup and everything else. Very effective performance. This is definitely a film about mood, and Nosferatu knows everything about mood. I also liked how they incorporated stuff from modern day, like how COVID affected people, how people were kind of isolating from each other. There's like this disease that breaks on the movie, and it feels very reminiscent of how COVID kind of played out. So they definitely worked in some modern day stuff into it, even though it's an older story that's taking place in a much earlier time in history. But it's a very well made movie. Nosferatu is number 9 on my list. At number 8 on my list, we have a film that definitely had a lot of attention, made a lot of money, made a lot of people happy of the Broadway show that it was based on, and that is Wicked. This film probably has some of the best production design I've seen in years in a movie. Just the way that the musical numbers add to the story, they don't feel annoying. They feel like they do belong in the story. I do like how the musical numbers felt welcomed. I liked the character arcs. I liked what Elphaba had to go through throughout the movie, what Glinda had to go through throughout the movie. Just a very engaging story that's extremely well written, very engaging. And like I said, just the way the production design was handled, the musical numbers were handled, all terrific stuff here. Great filmmaking on display by John M. Chu. Wicked makes it at number 8 on my list. At number 7 on my list, we have A Quiet Place Day One. I love the Quiet Place franchise, and this film definitely adds to that excitement of just how great this franchise is. I loved how The use of sound, once again, just like the first two films, is utilized very effectively here. We do care about Lupita Nyong'o's character as well as Joseph Quinn's character. I felt, really invested in them. I really wanted them to make it through New York safely and have all their goals met. I think one of them really wanted a New York style pizza or something like that. Just a really terrifically well made movie, a great continuation of the Quiet Place franchise, a great prequel to the Quiet Place franchise that takes place before all the other ones do. Just a terrific film. It makes it in at number 7 on my list. At number 6 on my list, we have Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. This is a film that I really admired. I loved the way the story was handled. I loved how all the Beetlejuice universe characters were brought back and how we were kind of, catching up with them as the film progressed. I liked how the film is just as zany, just as practical as the first film. They did try to do as much stuff practically as they possibly could, with CGI kind of aiding them as a tool this time around, since that wasn't available back when the first Beetlejuice was made. Just a very fun continuation. I loved how all the newer characters, whether it is Jenna Ortega's character, Justin Theroux's character, Monica Bellucci's character, just the way they continued that story, I thought was so cool and brilliant. How we get caught up with them, even how I personally thought that characters like Lydia Dietz and all those other characters that returned from the first film, they almost kind of have more layers to them this time around, which I thought was really impressive too. There's just more going on with their life, and they feel more educated and more aware of the world that they live in. I thought that was a very kind of cool way to handle their characters. So Beetlejuice makes it in at number 6 on my list. At number 5 on my list, we have a film that not a lot of people saw, and I wish they did, because it kind of started the summer blockbuster season, and it started it very strongly. I was very happy with this film when I walked out of it, and that's the film The Fall Guy. This is a terrifically made movie. It definitely honors the stunt community in Hollywood and all the stuff that they do for us to make the action movies that we get from today, and earlier. I loved Ryan Gosling's character, Emily Blunt's character in this. I was really into their love story. It's just one of those movies where it's just a very admirably made movie. You could definitely tell they really focused a lot on the stunts and found a way to kind of use the stunts to enhance the storytelling in some way. Very fun film. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to rewatch it, several more times. The Fall Guy makes it at number 5 on my list. At number 4 on my list, we have another film that not a lot of people saw, and that's from Shudder, even the streaming service, and it made its way to theaters in the summer, and that is In a Violent Nature. This film is so refreshing for the horror genre. It's very refreshing for the slasher genre. I like the idea of kind of, what if you were following Jason Voorhees around for an entire Friday the 13th movie? And that's exactly what In a Violent Nature does. It takes that Friday the 13th formula, lets us follow the killer this time around, not just the people that are the victims, kind of see what he sees how he gets the weapons and the masks and all that other stuff, see how he kind of approaches stuff. It's just a very refreshing take on a story like that. I love how inventive it was. Just a very engaging movie that I really hope we get more films like this, as far as just how fresh the perspective was on certain things. I just love this movie. It makes it at number 4 on my list, and there's even a rumor that we might get a sequel at some point, which I really hope we do. At number 3 on my list, we have another film that made a lot of money, made a lot of people happy, made a lot of comic book fans happy, including myself, and that is Deadpool and Wolverine. This film had so many fun cameos, so much fun. The humor was spot on. The action was great. The way that the comic book elements were adapted to the screen, I thought were brilliant. I also like the character arcs a lot of these characters face. I do like how Wade Wilson has a relationship with his girlfriend Vanessa from the first two films, and kind of how he has to make himself a better person, do something that he doesn't quite have yet, that he has to kind of find in himself throughout the course of this movie. It's just one of those movies where it's not just about the fun cameos and the action and everything else. It really does have a good story to tell. It has a lot of stuff for Wolverine to work through, things that weren't covered in previous movies. Even just the fact that Hugh Jackman and Ryan Reynolds finally got to make a good X-Men movie together, a proper, Deadpool looks exactly the way we want him to. Wolverine looks like the way we want him to. We even got the iconic Wolverine mask this time. How everything was handled in Deadpool and Wolverine, I thought was terrific. Definitely a brilliant movie. It absolutely makes it at number 3 on my list. At number two on my list, we have a film that not a lot of people have heard of. And it's kind of too bad it won't get a physical media release because I think Amazon funded it. And that is the film with Audrey Plaza, My Old Ass. This film is a ton of fun. It's so brilliant. The concept is great. The use of time travel, the use of coming of age, the use of all these elements that we're used to in other movies is so brilliantly original and handled fresh here. Um, how the film ends, how the film reveals itself, just every reward that the film could throw at you, you get. It's just one of those really rewarding film experiences where not only is the film you're watching terrific and funny and inventive, but I felt rewarded by the time the film was over with. It really made me ask myself if I could go back in time and talk to my younger self, what would I say to them? What lessons would I teach them? What kind of people and places and scenarios would I encourage myself to avoid or to pursue? It's just one of those films where it really makes you look back on your own life in a very positive way too, and it's just a very fun film in and of itself. So My Old Ass absolutely makes it at number two on my list, and it's only behind one film that I thought managed to be even better in 2024. And my number one favorite film, and this might surprise a lot of people, of 2024 is Bad Boys Ride or Die. This film is a blast. It is fun. Will Smith and Martin Lawrence have irresistible chemistry here. It's one of those films, too, where it asks you what your personal darkness was. There's scenes where Martin Lawrence and Will Smith and their former boss all have these revealings of what their personal darkness is. What's the one thing about them where if anything got out about that secret, what would they do? How would they handle it? And how would they pursue that? And the film kind of asks you that question too. There's even a little bit of 9/11 in this movie, believe it or not, that really works its way in. And it works its way very effectively here. Bad Boys Ride or Die is that rare experience where you get a really fun movie while also teaching you life lessons, while also kind of encouraging you to think about yourself and how you can improve yourself. And if you do have any kind of personal darkness at all, how can you overcome that? How can you make sure that you don't go down that dark path if you're worried that that thing about yourself would put you on a dark path? And it's just one of those really interesting films where it's not just a great sequel. It really is a film that encourages you to think about yourself and how you can fix yourself if something needs to be fixed. And you also get a fun action movie with Martin Lawrence and Will Smith while they're at it. And the humor here I thought was spot on. Martin Lawrence and Will Smith, like I said, their chemistry truly is irresistible. These two guys know exactly how to work off of each other, and I just can't get enough of the two of them. I really hope we get a Bad Boys 5 at some point. We really do need one. But overall, guys, those were my top 10 favorite films of 2024. Let me know down below what some of your favorites were. Do you agree with my list? Do you disagree with my list? What are some films that you wish I kind of put on the list instead? What do you think of the honorable mentions? All great questions. Feel free to answer them down below. And hopefully I will see you back here throughout 2025 for more great movie reviews.